Hi, everybody. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude. If you have never heard of this word, let me explain what it is. It's a German word. We don't have an equivalent in English. And it is basically pleasure in other people's pain. I believe the direct definition is the Freude is joy and the Schaden is damage, I believe. Damage and joy. It's enjoying other people's pain. It's very closely related to low self-esteem and jealousy. Very, very common. And it's the kind of thing that is at work when, especially when someone who maybe, say a good example would be Britney Spears, how when she fell, kind of had her little breakdown there, people kind of got on board with being like charged up about that because she was this super pop star, seemed to have it all, and then she kind of crashed out and bottomed out there. And people seem to enjoy that a little too much, you know? Schadenfreude is a groupthink. This kind of came about because I was sharing with you in another episode, I was sharing with you the way that human beings have this really great trait of coming together in crisis. You know, when we're all faced with a crisis, like say when Hurricane Katrina happened, all the people there just really, bonded together and did amazing things. Same with 9/11. Same with earthquakes and things like that happen all over the place. And I talked to you in another episode, which I'll link right here, about how I went through this experience in 2001 where I had an earthquake, where we were at the epicenter of an earthquake, and I had a heart attack, a private, my own private crisis, and then was 9/11. And how those things happened, 1, 2, 3, right in a row, and the vast difference that there was. What was that about, and how did that happen? And I know more or less why it happened with the people right up close. I know the people right up close were narcissists and all that, but this is more about the other people, all the people that were onlookers, that sort of watched it all happen. But this is how a Holocaust or Abu Ghraib or any of those kinds of things can happen. First of all, the people that were running, that were doing those death camps, that were doing those, they were normal people. They were like bankers and musicians, and they were just regular folks, and they were doing that. And then there was all the rest of everybody letting it happen, millions and millions of people. And there was a level of jealousy there because the Germans were really beaten up from the war. The Jews really had excelled, and they had a lot of the wealth, and they had a lot of the accomplishment, a lot of the highest achievement across the board, sciences, the arts, everything. They had just this really high amount of achievement and an amount of wealth. And so beaten down Germans who didn't feel good about themselves had this sociopathic leader who comes in, charges them all up, gives them a reason that they can gang up against these people and feel better about themselves. To devastating effect. Schadenfreude, it's growing as compassion and empathy seem to be going down. And again, empathy and compassion is the key. Compassion is the answer. Now there's another linked thing in psychology called the Bystander Effect. But the Bystander Effect is an interesting thing. I told this story in one of my videos, one of my storytime videos. I told this story about falling in a bar, like falling in this big, huge scene. I fell right on the floor, and this glass of beer flew across the place and crashed on the wall, and it was just a big scene. And my ex-husband, who at the time was just a new guy I was dating, left. He just left me there. He was so embarrassed that he just left. But no one in the place came over to talk to me. It was like, to help me up or to see if I was okay. No one. And then my brother was actually there. My brother was the one who actually, when I looked up, he said, he said the right thing, but it was just wild. And that's likely to happen. If I fell and there was only one other person there, they surely would have helped me up. But if I'm falling in the middle of, Times Square, no one's going to. And there's multiple experiments. I've linked them here. Some experiences from other videos where people will be like in the middle of public saying, "Will you help me? Will you help me?" And no one helps. So, and of course, in a situation like mine and probably like yours, you had a situation where people close to you, your parents, your brothers and sisters, your husband, your wife were saying these bad things about you. And what they were asking people to do is nothing. They're asking people to do nothing. They're asking people just to ignore it. Not get involved. Really, mostly that's what they were asking people to do. Well, that's what people wanted to do. And most likely, we were asking them to do more than that. We were asking, because we needed to. We needed them to do more. We needed them to help us. We needed them to stand up for us. We needed them to take more of a position, because this person, may have more of a conviction, because they would have to stand up against your own parents, maybe their friend who's your husband, and that was the case for me. But what was true for me also was that everyone was doing what they were doing for different reasons, their own personal reasons, and none of the reasons had anything to do with me. None of them had anything to do with me or anything that I'd done wrong. They had to do with themselves, their own low self-esteem, their secrets, their jealousies, their fears of exposure, fears of admitting who they were to themselves, mostly. And the reason for that is because the reason that it was so easy to do is because people had a diminished sense of responsibility. They thought, well, her own parents and her husband, she's their responsibility. And if they think this, well, it must be true. Because culture tells us parents love their kids. This guy's our friend. We think he's a good guy. You don't want to not be. And then the more you believe that, then even in the face of evidence, you're going to keep believing it, because you're going to keep acting on it because you believed it, and you don't want your own judgment to be that bad.